What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I got something kind of special planned. I'm going to be discussing some things that usually aren't talked about with the 300ZX and the VG30 motor. Now, it's very common for people to throw a set of rods and pistons in these motors and make about 600-700 horsepower. Now, if you want to get the most out of your motor, obviously these are only 3-liter engines, they're V6, but if you want to get that extra little bit out of the motors, what do? Yeah, you can throw bigger turbos on it, you can throw more boost into it, but I mean, it's like once you get past that 600-700 horsepower mark, it's like trying to cram 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag. Now, the key to really opening up the motor and getting the most out of it, I'm going to talk about that and show you today. You can probably relate this to just about any other motor out there on the market right now, especially any small displacement motor, because the only way to really capitalize on these import motors is to optimize head flow. And that is the big secret. Turbos, more boost, yes, that's great, that's fine. Not saying it doesn't help, but if you want to capitalize and optimize the most out of your motor for every pound of boost that you throw at it, the secret is going to be in the heads. Now, you can throw bigger cams, port, polish, the whole 9 yards. What I'm going to be doing today is just a simple, mild hand port at my own garage. Nothing crazy. I'm not a machinist. I don't have any crazy tools. I have like a simple set of die grinders that are meant for aluminum, and that's what I'm going to be using for these. So let's get to it. Now, these heads were freshly machined probably about 3 years ago, and I had them on my Tomei head gaskets. That setup was lifting at about 27, 28 pounds of boost on high RPM 4th gear pulls. As you can see, there's a little bit of scoring right here. I think that's where the head might have been leaking combustion pressure. So we're gonna get a straight edge on this after I clean it up. Okay. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing with this head.
Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air.
Alright, so for this head, I went ahead and ordered me a JWT valve spring compressor. This is going to save me a lot of time. I've done it the old way, and it sucks using a generic valve spring compressor. So today I'm going to be using this one. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to go today, guys. I have a massive headache. As a matter of fact, I might even call it quits here. Alright, so now that I've kind of got the hang of this a little bit better, I've got my groove going, I'm going to show you guys how to really do this. So I have the JWT valve spring compressor kit. This kit's actually meant to even do it with the head in the car still, so it doesn't push it down that much. Ultimately, it would be best to have a longer bolt, which I do not have. So instead, I'm using a spacer to go underneath this and then slide on. So what I'm going to do now is take this washer that I have. It fits actually almost perfectly. Slide that kind of where I need to get it, and then this is going to slide on over top of that, and then out, and there we go. So now that that's down in, I'm going to thread this guy on. And then, now I already went through, I used a hammer and a 14mm socket with an extension and broke the valve keepers free. So let's see what happens here. There we go. I push from the bottom with my hand on the valve, and that's enough to hear it pop like you just heard. And I continue to compress it very slowly. And that should do it. Now, might have to go a little bit more. Oh no, that one actually came out right away. There we go. So now, just gonna go back to the time lapse and carry on. Alright you guys, I'm going to do my best to show you before and after here. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to flatten out the bottom and shape that divider up a little more. That way we can enlarge the port while still maintaining velocity. And I'm going to open up the initial throat of the port itself.
I'm here and I'm feeling exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance, not the life I want to live. I want to take it all, standing tall, fear I'm waiting.
Alright, so I'm going to do my best to talk over the fan in the background. I apologize about that, but it's hot today. It's like 92 degrees here in Florida. So anyways, going to be porting the exhaust side. So we're just going to open up the face of this and then grind away a little bit around the edges and open up around the valve stem here on the top of the port. Alrighty, so I'm going to take my new valves I got. I should probably put a little bit of oil on them. I'm going to dribble a little bit of oil around the valve stem, slide them in. This is my head that had the valves bend. So I'm only replacing the valves on this head, and because I'm replacing them, I am going to lap the valves on the intake side only. I think I'll probably end up checking the exhaust valves as well, just to make sure everything is good 100% with that. Alright, so real quick, I don't know if you can really see, but I've got one valve here. This one's already lapped. You can see the nice like gray finish going around it. And this one here is still nice and silver. This one I have not lapped yet. This is a brand new valve from Nissan. Now the reason being for lapping your valves is that you want the valve to match the seat. If you do not see a smooth finish of that gray, it's almost like a wet sanded portion of metal, and you're basically assuring that it will be a 100% seal when this valve closes. Just a quick little tip and explanation as to why you should lap your valves. So I was just lapping my exhaust valves. I finished all the intake, they're all good, everything looks good. Now the important thing to do when you're lapping valves is to double check the surface of the valve when you're finished, as well as the seat. Make sure there's any kind of irregularities. As I was doing this, naturally, I found some irregularities. And it wasn't just one exhaust valve, it was pretty much all of them, which was kind of unusual, but these are 30-year-old valves. Being the exhaust side, they do see the most heat. So let me show you what I found. Here's a good example. So this one here is pretty much the same thing. As you can see there, it's not making contact with the seat. which is exactly what that means. If I go to this side, it's making contact. On the side where the valve makes contact, there's a little mark on almost every single one of them. So I don't think these necessarily made contact with the piston, but I think that's just part of over time. So what that means is, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to finish the heads today. But what I will do is I will get the exhaust side in and get the exhaust side done and double check my new cams to make sure they are straight and everything's good to go in the cam journals. So let's get back to it. Manly exhaust valves are on order. They should be here sometime this week. This video is going on like 2 weeks now and I'm running out of time. But yeah, let's finish these up today and see what happens. Okay, so now that I'm done with most of the intake valves, I'm going to show you some little tricks that I've learned that'll help you along the way. So what I've learned is that after you pull them out of the magnetic tray, they still have some magnetism. So even though this little screwdriver is not magnetic, it'll still be enough to hold it ever so slightly. Now what I do is I put it on the top part of the valve, keep it there with my finger, and then let go of it. Now we move this to the other side without poking it out of the hole. And then once that is moved to the other side of the valve, we grab our other one. It's always easier to put them in on the top side of the valve because that's the way they naturally want to fall down. So then I'm going to put this one in, put my finger on top, and it stays in there. And that's it. That's the trick. So now it's in there. All I gotta do is raise this up, pull this piece off, and that's it. That's a little trick for you guys. Make things much easier. If you can do all of them like that, you'll have this done in like 30 minutes. You know, this makes me feel like I'm in the big leagues now. I'm a big boy. All right, one more thing. You guys ever watch that Jackie Chan Adventures show that was on like, oh shit, it was like 20 years ago. I feel like I'm getting old. Anyways, Jackie Chan has a grandpa in this cartoon where he always goes, "One more thing." So, I just want to go over with you guys. I got my new cams laid out here. These are my JWT 500 cams. Nice, shiny, beautiful pieces of art, let's say. I always recommend doing this first. Have them bolted in, torqued down. Make sure once they're torqued down that you can spin them and they spin freely and there's no binding. If there's any binding, then you probably have another issue. So make sure you can do that before you go ahead and torque. Look at the clearance. Look at the clearance. These are the largest cams you can get on the market right now. Where look at that. Look at that. Where you don't have to do any kind of grinding to make them fit. So anyways, I just thought that was pretty cool. Wanted to show you guys. Make sure you can do this. All right, you guys. So there's a little check valve in the back of these cams that needs to be removed to swap over to the new cams. I'm going to show you real quick how to remove that. For starters, obviously, there's a C-clip. Need C-clamp tools to remove that. And a little bit of patience, and that comes right out. So if you can see, there's 4 little notches around the outer edge. What you have to do is, the idea is to find something wide enough to go down in there that'll stretch all the way across and push down the check valve. Then once you have that, you need adjustable wrench or pliers of some sorts to spin. I'm using a pry bar. You can use whatever kind of metal you need to fit in there that'll fit preferably tighter the better. But I'm going to use my crescent wrench. Well, here, I'll just show you guys. See if I can get some. There we go. I can do that. Now do this. So get it on a level surface now. There we go. I heard it crack free that time. That's it. A little bit of trial and error. I mean, for me it was tough because my pry bar is bent, but that's now spinning freely. That's how you do it. Just rotate it in by hand. Alright, so there's that. A spring clamp. I'm going to go ahead and set it in there first. Put my thumb over it just in case it breaks free and doesn't fling it somewhere. And there we go. Check valve is installed.
Yeah, let's go. I ain't the first with the curse, with the thirst that I wanna be better, not worse, man it hurts. I'm on this earth with my words and I put them all together, insert, cause I wanna have worth. Working hella hard till they put me in the dirt. Gonna go far, man, listen to my words. Gonna be a star, man, life's like a blur. When you're working this hard, yeah, you get what you deserve. Yeah, I ain't taking a backseat, I'm passing anybody else who is rapping. I'm nasty, ain't nobody able to catch me. They gasping, they cannot compare, they can't match me. I'm at half speed, I got your girl and she laughing and dancing, hanging on my butt, she asking to crash with me, smash with me, she savage, she wants cash money, and she knows that I live lavishly. I wanna live, I'm cold inside, gave all I have just to feel alive. I fight to live, I fight to strive, one day I'll have what I want. I want the whole world in the palm of my hand, I got a plan, I'm the man, now I'm teaching the game, a veteran, better than anybody else who tests me. I'm ready, looking at my hand and it's steady, I'm trending, ascending and blending, lyrical bending, now I'm spreading and getting my name out now, yeah, they're hearing me laugh, all the crowds repping the sound, I'm hitting the ground, run.
Okay, I just wanted to show you guys one more thing here. I just spent like probably an hour doing this or so, probably close to an hour and a half, 2 hours. But I went ahead and ported the lower plenum as well, and let me tell you, you guys have to see this. It came out super nice. I went ahead and used basically the same method I did with my heads, where I marked it out and then went through it with the grinder first, and then I went through it again with my sander. Only I did a lot more sanding this time to give it more of a refined finish. Now there's still a gasket material on the top, but I will say this turned out very, very well. Take a look at this. Woo-wee. Nice and shiny, boys. Ready to go. I went all the way through on these, so I did the top side here as well as the bottom side here, and as you can see, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I almost wish I would have recorded it, but I'm kind of like, it's the same thing over and over with porting and sanding, and I can't really say polishing because I'm not really polishing any of it, but you get the picture. That's what the finished product looks like. We're gonna get this thing together and it's gonna be awesome. I'm super pumped to see how well these heads flow. Alright, you guys, I guess that's gonna do it for this video. I am gonna finish up these heads, but I'll probably end up doing that off camera. It's just repeating the same steps I already did. And besides, like I said, I am still waiting on the exhaust valve, so if I find anything peculiar, maybe I'll throw that into the next video for you all and you can check that out. But heads are done, they're looking spicy. It should be capable of hopefully 1,000 horsepower. With this cam and the mild port job that I did. I call it a mild port job, but I guess you can almost consider it a medium port job, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, it's a little bit more than a standard gasket match. So, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow along, This car's gonna break 4 digits, so I hope anyways. But we'll see what happens, you know, we'll at least get very close to it. I expect the car to be sitting right between 900 to 1,000 wheel horsepower at close to 30 PSI of boost. So, we'll see what happens when that time comes. But if you want to follow along and make sure you see when that happens, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Smash the like button. Thanks for watching. Appreciate all the support, you guys. Take care.
Anybody else who tests me, I'm ready. Looking at my hand and it's steady. I'm trending, ascending and blending, lyrical bending. Now I'm spreading and getting my name out now. Yeah, they hearing me laugh. All the crowds repping the sound. I'm hitting the ground, running, up and coming. Ain't nothing, yeah, rookie of the year. I'ma keep it 100, cold-blooded, no budget. From nothing to something, I ain't bluffing. I got a full hand and a full plan. I ain't gonna stop till I'm at the top, man. Every single drop got me feeling awesome. I'm about to pop, started from the bottom, yeah. I wanna live, I'm cold inside. Give all I have just to feel alive.